And we are live. Hello, Bradley.
Hi, nice to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. I got a turmeric latte with oat milk, half sweet. I got some holy honey iced tea, and it's pouring rain outside. It's cold, and I'm cozy.
Well, it's freezing here in Europe too, so I get you.
Yeah,
First
big big
question.
big atmospheric river dumping on us right now in Northern California.
Well, it's time to cool down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, First question I ask everybody on the podcast is everybody knows who Gmunk is, and they know your work. You're pretty prolific. But that since we know that already, my first question is always like, who is the person behind the persona? So we know Gmunk, but we don't know really Bradley Monkowitz. So who is Bradley? If you had to describe yourself.
Depends who you ask, I suppose. If you ask my wife, you'll get a very different answer than if you ask people I work with versus if you ask, my friends, my close friends. But I would say that I'm someone who's really into thought processes, and like the interiors of the mind, the subconscious mind, like the detached mind, the non-dual mind, and I'm very friendly and very I have two kids, so I'm full of love and just you know, and I'm just kind of a really intensely creative, curious person, who's quite chill, from California, quite chill. Love my, love my relaxation methods, you know, pretty chill. Don't really take myself too seriously, but I'm pretty locked in on um pulling out kind of what goes on like in the deep trenches of the mind, things I see, things I experience, conversations I have with myself, things I see in like meditation states or altered states, and just finding a way to express those in the tangible world, you know, through light or through moving image, sculpture. And yeah, that's kind of, I would say. But at my core, I'm curious and very much really analytical, self-analytical. I'm very much like really really working on the mind a lot.
Okay.
And
Um,
because the mind controls everything, like it just controls your, if your mind's not right, not everything else falls, it's managing stress, managing expectations of clients, and then managing my own expectations of my work, and just kind of coasting on the top of it, just kind of letting it, never really sinking into it, just kind of coasting on the top of it, detached from all of it.
okay. That's an interesting answer, specifically on the cerebral and like introspective part of it. You mentioned two kids and a wife, and I know as an artist, like how sometimes it is hard to conceal those two worlds, like that inner research with the family life. And so I was going to ask another question, but this popped in. That's what I was taking notes, is how that works out
Hmm.
in your inner circle, because it's easy sometimes to get lost in all that introspective work, you know. So how do you conceal those two worlds together?
I think that the thing we learned when we had our first kid, my wife's also an artist, so when we didn't have kids and just had a dog, we were working all the time, barely ate dinner together. It was just like we'd go on these fun adventures, shows, this, that, but like our we were work and life were so intertwined. There was no routine. And then once you have a kid, it's like, then it forces you to kind of rebuild the way your life operates around routine and just kind of, managing a child, and our oldest is 3.5. So 3.5 years of just really structuring our days around like a normal day, like you eat breakfast together. He goes off to school. We go off to work. We work until 5. We pick him up. We eat dinner together. We put him to sleep, and then on the weekends, it's just, the weekends I leave empty on my calendar for the most part because fucking, you go with the wind on weekends. You make plans and stuff, but you go with the wind, like shit, whatever. There's no schedule. And so you really focus in on time management and just like, when you do have the time, when you do have that block of time to work, you're really focused on work. And I feel like become more productive and more focused because you only have a certain amount of time, so you just lock in. I don't use social media anymore. Like I don't fucking do anything anymore. I just basically come into the office, I work, listen to music, eat lunch. When I eat lunch, sometimes I'll watch YouTube while I'm eating lunch. Usually I'll do calls when I'm eating lunch, but sometimes I'll just like pop on YouTube or whatever, but watch something, learn something. But usually all day I'm just like not really on the internet, always doing research, work calls, development, and it's just locked in. And then now we've had a second kid, which makes things even harder because you have no breaks anymore. One parent is always on a kid, so you almost have like more focused time and more problem solving and kind of managing the two. So I've basically rebuilt my whole work-life balance around the kids. It had to be rebuilt, and I feel like it's way harder and there's much more compromises. But I think you kind of understand that as a parent, and then you just tip the scales a little bit. You just alter the routine slightly so you can get a little bit more productivity out of it.
Yeah, the reason I ask that question is because, like people tend to glorify sometimes the way of these things work. And just like you said, it's like, well, the kid shows up and then it like rocks your world. You have to be ready. So you have to organize around that. And that dictates like a lot of your life. And then, like people think sometimes like, oh, like they live like rock stars. Like, no, like they're actually like normal human beings and a family. And
yeah, super normal with the family.
no,
It's true because we go to the park all the time. I take my kid to Children's Fairyland all the time. The zoo all the time. We do all the fun family stuff to keep our kids entertained, and then I just try to get as much work done during the week as I possibly can. Just lock in, don't waste any time. I've been really psycho about my calendar for over a decade, blocking everything out for so long. But once you have kids, you kind of take that to the next level too and try things. I just live and breathe my calendar. My whole life is color coded. Everything you just look at it. It's like a design in its own sense. It's like a data visualization of my life that I am constantly updating every week, and it keeps me really, really locked in to what I need to be doing. Except on the weekends. Weekends, I don't give a fuck. Weekends, my wife plans the weekends, puts it in the calendar. I don't touch the weekend. I just enjoy the weekend.
I don't know how it happened for you. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about the topic here. But, I think you and I have close the same age. And we are from a generation where kind of like when we were kids, we were kind of, we didn't have like a lot of like parenting time, it's like we were kind of like free to do whatever, roam around and then fuck around and you will find out sort of like thing. And when I was younger, like that didn't affected me at all. But as I grew up and then I had a kid, I realized like some of the stuff that lacked to me when I was a kid that I want to have with my kids. And that like what resonates from what you said, like with me, is being like super tight with your calendar, like to have quality time with the family. And also, like you said, but when you have the time that you have blocked to work, that's like pure fucking like focusing time. Like you're super streamlined because you have to, in a way.
Yeah, that's right. Because you have to.
Which brings us to the topic of today with you. As always, the topic is not random. Is I select the topic for the guest. And I wanted to invite you for multiple reasons, but one is that the title of today is Back to Analog. Why that title? It's because when I see your work, your body of work through the years, it has shifted slowly to more and more analog work. Sure, there's electronics involved and stuff like that, but like in-cam stuff, lasers, people like shooting live action stuff. And I walk in both worlds too. I'm also into motion design and also in live action. And I was interested in the back to analog because we are in a moment right now where people are kind of like going the other way. It's like shifting into more and more digital. And I would say even like digital noise, And so it's interesting to see your path going kind of like somewhat the opposite. And so I wanted to kind of like know why you took that direction.
I would say
take your time.
It was a big life transition. From around like 13, 14 years ago. I was in Los Angeles doing a whole life there, and that life ended, and I moved up to San Francisco to be closer to family, and just like this is like a big just reboot life move, a leap of faith in a lot of ways. And where I ended up on that move was I was like, a new city. I want to go work at a studio so I can meet people and just kind of network, new city. And so I landed at this place called Auto Fuss and Bot and Dolly. It's a sister company, a pair of companies. One was like a advertising motion design studio, and one was a robotics studio. And I spent a year there, and they had this resident cinematographer who was so every day I going to work in this totally rad studio, like totally fucking rad studio. They don't really exist like that anymore. It's like amazing moment in time with amazing people. And they had a resident cinematographer, and then they had this other guy who is a musician / VJ / just like an amazing creative who ended up being my neighbor. And then a bunch of roboticists, architects, and then a projection mapping wizard, like King Wizard. And so I was just like immersed with them. And I'm a very like, in that kind of world, I have a lot of energy, and I'm a very like sticky kind of person, like and so I just cross-pollinated with all of them. And from that moment in time, just moving forward, I've always been into the practicals because so many of them were doing that kind of work. The cinematographer taught me all about cinematography. He taught me full spectrum photography. Inframonk, he was the one that taught me that. Joe Picard, we shot a music video in full spectrum. He opened so many doors for me. And then and the guy, all the crew. And so and what I learned from like doing so much practical work was just you get so much from it. You get so much from just shooting the real thing and having it be real and knowing that it's real. There's no questioning it. If you have a projector that's projecting a bunch of circles and it's breaking up into a bunch of beams and it hits a bunch of trees, then those shadows and that lighting is exactly correct because it's real. Like, you can't fuck with that. That's nature. It's like, it's real. Or like this refraction is real, or the way this thing moves is real because it is real. And so I just really resonated with that. And And just the process of shooting it is always so rewarding because you experience it. You build it, you experience it, and it has a life outside of the screen that you've experienced as you're making it, but also translating that experience to a digital format is cool too, you know? And yeah, I mean, I've always, like literally the brief on the Windows 10 desktop was when I submitted my proposal, I was like, no, we should shoot this thing because it'll never date. Like if you shoot that thing, it'll never date. It'll be like the Blade Runner miniatures, like they'll never date, or the Close Encounters, or some of these, the original Star Wars, all the miniatures. That shit doesn't date because it's real. It looks fucking awesome. Looks great. And so I just think it's timeless. And then lastly, and I'll wrap this up. So sorry. Lastly, I'm just really into the energy of light, like the contrast of light and dark, the presence and absence of light, and just visualizing that in motion with cadence and feeling it and translating it through optics. Because I love optics. Yeah, I love, not as much as I love light, I love optics and glass and distortions and warping and all of it. So that combination together really moves me. Always has. I love that shit. I'm in the process of planning a new shoot for concert visuals that's going to be like 4 concepts in a day, fully practical, fully trying to achieve an illusion with 3 cameras, stitching all of it. And I'm inspired by that. Your work and your creative flow is just like so up and down. And I've been working on a feature film for a long time, and we're just so in the details of like hardcore design work, like UI hologram, computer vision, just like fucking hardcore detailed design work. And I'm tired because I'm just like, oh my God, I need to shoot something. I need to do something, that's real, or, that starts real. So I'm excited to break it up. I'm excited to break things up a little bit and get back into the practical shoots. It's been a little bit since I've shot something.
Yeah.
So
I will add something. I will add something to what you said. Is what I also love about the experience of doing practical things is the collective effort, is the fact of like being there with people and just like, so it's not only your mental thing, because there's the also the happy accidents happening, because like stuff that happens that you haven't thought of, but because of the tweaking of the settings of the lights, of the flags, of the glass, you go like, oh wait, what was that? And then like other people start feeding that feed of creativity with like, well, let me try this, like nobody has the monopoly of good ideas or creativity. And from like you said, like that DOP open your brain to a whole other world, like because they see the world differently as we do,
That's right.
And the sound guy is going to be seeing things also differently in his head because he has a different perspective of it. And what I also like find super interesting is what you said about light, because that's something I always mention to clients when sometimes they want to make things a little bit too mild, and I always say like, well, if to have light, you need darkness, because the darkness will make the light way more apparent. It will bring contrast. Something that has no contrast has no interest.
Yeah.
And like speaking, you mentioned those kind of like more high level projects, but again, from following your work and knowing one of your collaborators personally, behind the accolades and awards, like I have always this impression that it's like this group of nerds just trying out things in their garage, because I've seen those images from you with Peter Clark and can't remember the other guy. When you guys are like in the living room of one of each other's house, just playing with a laser, like and just stuff, and like pouring liquids in glass, and like just filming with stuff like that. And so I'm curious about that like dichotomy between the high level and the kind of like handcraft garage thing on your end. Like how do you process through that?
I mean, a lot of it is just, low budget, style, just duct taping stuff together, low budget style, and it works. It all scales, so the shoot I was talking about will be low budget style, where we'll have a space, like a professional space, but we'll be like, everything will be super experimental and figuring it out. And I think it just scales, if there's a big budget of something, then you have many more resources and stuff. But a lot of the stuff that I do that's the most fun is always like pretty, pretty low budget, pretty basic. And then you're just forced to just, be as nerdy as you can, be as honest as you can. And the setups are always so, that's why you show them in a way, so people can appreciate that. Like, everyone's like, oh, I want to get into photography. What kind of camera should I buy? And it's like, no, dude, you should focus on the art of photography with your iPhone before you literally do anything. You can learn about the actual craft. It doesn't matter like the tool. It matters the craft of like, what is photography? Get us, understand a style or a voice or a point of view, with a lens of capturing frames, compositions, moments. It's the same, it's just where we have an end goal, and we're just like, just going as basic and simple as we can towards the end goal. A lot of the things, honestly, dude, is I collaborate with a lot of people who are a lot younger than I am, and I fucking love that. Like, I love that because I just love the energy. I love the positivity. I love the fresh, the freshness of it all. As you get older, you start to like attach a bunch of labels and extra layers to why you're doing things. And I think the purity of just doing things based on purely on the love of exploration and creation is something I really want to always have in my life. Like, I always want to have that be a part of my life. I love it when people are nerding out and just my favorite moments are like, 2 hours of overtime on set, and we're all just like holding things up and doing this and that to like get the shot. Everybody's just kind of putting in, because it just reminds me of college all the time, just like being in film school, running around with a camera, shooting anything in Arcata, California, and it just brings me back to that. And that's where I want to be. Like, I want to be at that place for the rest of my life. Like, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be this polished thing. I want to be kind of a rough, shit's kind of rough still, because it keeps you honest. It keeps dirt under your fingernails in a lot of ways.
I do feel like also, when you have those limitations, it pushes you to be creative. Like, I had like a couple last projects where like budgets were tight, and to be honest, I think that because of it, the resulting project was better, because if we had like a ton of money to spend, we would have been doing the obvious things that were expected. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this like that, and we're gonna shoot there, and we're gonna travel here. That was the expected thing. But not having the money to travel to 4 different locations and hire this amount of crew, then pushed us to be creative on like, okay, then how we conceptualize this thing. We abstract the reality from it, and we can create like something that is like beautiful, conveys the message, and fits the budget, in a way. And like you said, I think that keeps things real. It gets you out of your comfort zone of like, oh yeah, let's hire a 20-person crew and let's go to this studio and that. Like, no, okay, how do we revolve around these boundaries to bend those to our will? you know um and and again, like it's kind of like why I do these recordings, because I think it's important to see how something like you and other guests I have, um despite working on like high level projects, stay connected to these roots, because that in the end is what keeps us alive in a way. you know um
Yeah. Yeah. It's the source. It's
exactly.
spark. Yeah. Yeah.
um you know I've, again, looking at your work, I've seen some recurrent thematics coming in, some like obsessions of yours. And I wanted to know, I'm not going to say more because those are your obsessions, not mine. But I wanted to know if you could like develop a little bit on that, on those thematics that keep on recurring and coming in your work. Like what are those for you, and why you feel the urge to put that out in the world?
I think that I don't know exactly the theme you're talking about.
It's subjective,
Yeah. I would say like the things that really excite me, besides playing with light and optics and movement and all of that, is just and that translates a little bit, but just like the psychedelic palette for me is where I'm happiest. And like the more I experience, the more I collect and remember, and the more it translates. And now with it's always been a very hard style to do, because there's like what you would expect aesthetic, like the expected psychedelic palette. There's a lot of that. But like I always interpreted, due to the limitations of what I can practically make, with digital or analog, it's been kind of confined to a mood and a feeling with light, or a mood with a lot of sound and movement and cadence and pace. But since about a year and a half ago, everything's been turned on its head with AI, because now with AI, I feel like, first of all, like with still images, you can literally, anybody can make anything now. Like anybody can make anything with Midjourney, and you can't, it's fucking amazing. And for me, the way I like to use it is to make blatantly psychedelic work, highly detailed work, explore volumetrics in such a free-form way that like everything changed last year for me in terms of like how I make. So the Inframonk is breathing is something like I'm really interested in. Full spectrum photography, have been for over a decade, and that photography always takes different forms, mostly landscape. But recently I've using AI, I've found ways to make it breathe into like these cellular mutations, these fantastic creations beyond what a landscape is. Like you take a landscape and you can breathe it into amazing mutations of botany, and that's been escalating, since the release of Bali Moon, which was a digital art piece in the Inframonk is breathing genre. Now it's gone like so far out that I'm just having the best time with it. It's my favorite thing I think I've ever done. There are limitations of just like resolution, output in motion, but man, I'm fucking the AI's thing. I'm super inspired by it. I'm not really using like Runway. I'm not using like text to video or image to video. I'm more into like Midjourney and then to animate diff, where you're loading in, you're like have so much more control. But there's the limitations to that is resolution still, You natively you're getting about 1.5K out of there. That's flickery and noisy. So you got to like massage that 1K without too much loss of detail, too much smoothing, to get it. And that's going to improve though. That's the crazy thing is like in 1 to 2 years, all of these, Soras, runways, Veos, like all of those are going to be perfect. And anybody's going to make anything just like Midjourney in video. It's going to be fucking crazy, So I'm kind of like, okay, this is not going away. Everybody's got to use this because it just like, it's like it 10x's your productivity in concept work, research. It's like 20x. It's awesome. It's amazing. You can make anything. So I'm really in. So to answer your question, I'm really in. It's now I'm kind of on a tip where it's like I'm using tools in AI where I'm really making psychedelic work right now, and I'm really happy about it. Like it's like I just remember like I remember when I was working on Tron Legacy in like 2010 in Venice Beach, California. I would go to Digital Domain every day, ride my beach cruiser home at night. I would stay late, riding it down the side streets of Venice, and like you're so in the Tron world that like all the lights passing you are you're still in the Tron world, even biking home. And now it's like I'm doing work, making imagery, making videos, doing all sorts of crazy shit. And then when I go to bed, like when I'm about to go to bed and meditating and kind of clearing it out before bed, I'm seeing everything. Like I close my eyes and I'm still in it. Like I'm in the jungle. Like I'm in this psychedelic jungle with all these vines. It's like I'm making the craziest stuff. It's so fun. And so I'm really inspired by where everything's going. And I'm like, I haven't posted a lot in social media for like the last 6 months, because I've been so deep, and I'm just going to come out of that and spend some time in marketing now. But I've been so locked in that I just haven't been putting time in marketing whatsoever. And I've just been off social media, because I've been so locked in, but I'm going to come out and start posting some projects and shit. But yeah, the Infomonk's going to get saucy is all I'm going to say. I've changed the way, I've changed the way I shoot, and I've changed my post-processing pipeline entirely, away from like, mostly, I mean, nothing was ever absolute, but like, I'm really into like the DaVinci Resolve full spectrum video pipeline more so than the Lightroom raw photo pipeline right now. Like you get so much more motion out of drone cinematography than you do in still photography or time lapse. You get all this motion baked in, and so I'm end of year I'm gonna throw down some hard shit. Not hard, but gnarly. Gnarly is a better word.
I'm
Not
curious. I don't want to make this like the main debate of the podcast, but that you've expressed your interest in AI, and like I don't take sides here in this beef, but how polarized that conversation has become.
I don't, because I'm not on social media, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's people that like hate it, there's people that love it, and there's people that say this is going to be the doom of us. Like there's like a lot of like fear mongering about it.
I think it's definitely going to be the doom of us unless we use it. No, I'm serious. I think it's like taste is everything. You can create 3,000 images, and if you don't have taste to like use the right one, it's not going to do the work developing your taste for you. So I feel like the artist still matters, super matters, because AI is just a tool like anything else. It just like literally 20x's your productivity. Like I remember writing a film 3 years ago, and man, if we had AI when we were writing that film, we literally would have shaved about 6 months off the schedule. We concept work, we'd have blown through it. Previs, we would have blown through it. Like the tools are so mature now, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to the idea. It was a rad film, yeah. And we could have visualized it literally 6 months faster, 8 months faster with AI now. And so I think that like you're screwed if you don't use it, and you should integrate it into whatever you're doing, and everybody has their own voice still, even through AI. I think the backlash is because, in the TikToks and the Instagrams and the Twitters and like what's posted and just like this simulation of fucking dialogue that is just, it's just complete noise out there. It's like, there's just such a, I think once you see like the cream will rise to the cream will always rise to the top in this. And like, you'll start to see it used in the right ways where it's kind of not about AI. It's about something else. And the AI is just a means to make it. Then you'll be like, oh yeah, this is sick, because then you can do anything. Like I think I'm very much in the pro AI camp, just because as a creative who's struggled, done the craft for so long and have done the process for so long, seeing what you can get out of that process so quickly and so beautifully, like fluid, beautiful, like it's such a cool process to explore it, that it's like, it's such a relief, and I think there's going to be a line in the sand where like the end of craft is near, and like all people who can actually make digital art are going to become fine artists in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to be the painters. 20 years from now, nobody's going to know how to use fucking Photoshop. Nobody's going to fucking care. Like 10 years from now, nobody that's coming out of school 10 years from now is going to ever learn the tools anymore, because there's no need to. Like think about somebody now who's 18 years old or 16 years old is going to go to art school when they're 18. You think they're going to learn Photoshop in art school? Like, fuck no, dude. They're going to learn all the AI tools, and they're going to focus more on idea and execution, and just like, you don't have to spend, 3 weeks, building the anatomy of a robotic arm anymore. You can literally choose from 1,000, design it exactly how you want, throw in any reference you want, and make it exactly how you want it, and boom, move on to the next thing. It's pretty awesome. I don't see. I just think that it's such a good thing. But yeah, it's gonna be the death of all of us for sure. Like jobs are gonna get fucked. Like people who, it's gonna be so disruptive. It's gonna be the most disruptive thing to ever happen to our industry, I think. Like for sure. Facts. Because when is there ever, the only other disruption was like the first Photoshop, or when Photoshop got layers and everyone was like, photography's dead, film photography, digital photography, all that shit. But this is like way more intense than that. Because now you can make anything moving soon, and anybody can do it. And it's,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of it though. I'm not scared. I'm not worried.
What I always say is that like one doesn't exclude the other. It's like, again, we were talking about the analog part of it, and the fact that you are enjoying creating with AI and it has streamlined your process. It's not avoiding you to do the experimental side of things in an analog way.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I think the key is that the source has to be yours no matter what. So, go on Midjourney, do whatever you want. Cool. But like when you make something using AI, the source has to be yours. So for instance, Inframonk is breathing first breath. The source was my photograph, a full spectrum photograph of a tree in the fog. That sets the stage for everything that happens after, right? And then, all the mutations and stuff, the different color grades, blah, blah, blah. In Bollymoon, same thing. It's like the source is a time-lapse photograph that's doing its thing. And the new stuff is the source is drone videos. Drone videos doing their thing. Smoke simulations doing their thing. It has to be a source that you create to drive it, is kind of how I look at it. And the Midjourney is basically the style references that you feed into it, to augment it, to make it become something else. And that's the beauty of it, is you can transform things into other things, and it's fucking awesome. I love it. I'm so excited by it, And I think like, you're seeing, I have a group chat with a couple digital art, uber fucking legends that we have a three-way chat. And we mostly just discuss AI, and share examples. And, when that film came out, made in VO, 2 of the Fox, it was like an anime Fox film. I saw that. One of my homies sent it to me and we watched it. And I was like, that's 5 minutes. Like, how long would that take before AI? It'd be like a year, if not more. It's like a 5-minute fully animated story of a fox and his soul and their soul, and it's like with AI, it's under a month, with one person, it's and people are using it to make things look better, add more detail. It's super cool, man. It's a really inspiring thing. And I think that, I think everybody should get on the train because it ain't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's not going away. It's only going to get better. Resolution is going to be higher. Speed is going to be faster. Like there's no avoiding it. So honestly, like professional advice to anybody, like to avoid it is to kill your career. I think I don't think you should. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know, but I think it's a really powerful tool. I will say that like UI designers, typographers, people in the design world who are like very niche, AI will never touch it. AI doesn't know good graphic design, or good typography, or, anything practical, like it's, it doesn't touch any of that, but it's really cool, man. I don't know. I'm definitely very pro.
Has that filtered in because you're talking like mostly about like personal projects, but like has that filtered into your high level work, like sequel of Tron and stuff like that?
Yeah, for concepting, for concepting, getting ideas out. We worked on a concert visuals campaign, and I think in a week with a team of 3, I think we proposed like 28 ideas. Whereas if you did that before with a team of 3 in a week, maybe 4, 6, and these ideas were flushed out, and I think for the concept phase, I think execution wise, it's still not there. The resolution's not there. The level of control's not there, but for concepting, everybody in the motion design knows that like, for pitches or just getting a concept out and illustrating the concept, visualizing it, that's a lot of resource usually, and you have a team of artists, this and that. And I think this really speeds up the process of just communicating an idea clearly with context. And, it's cool. I use it on everything. I'm
going to play devil's advocate here just to wrap the AI topic. Like you said, you can train the models with the thing you feed it. Like, is it not a concern of yours that like at some point people are going to maybe take your inputs and use your style to make Gmunk style?
Yeah, I'm not concerned about that. I think that the circle of life in any creative industry is just put it out there in the creative universe and everyone grabs everything. I would be very interested to see, but I think like if I went into AI and took a bunch of James Jean illustrations and just like made a James Jean illustration of something else, they would, well, depending on budget, they would just hire James Jean, if it's too blatant, but you can, I think AI is all about the formula, the mix, and you just kind of like pepper in all these different ingredients and ideas, and new things. I mean, we always say in creativity is just, everything is a recycling of the past, and now it's like it's almost real time recycling in a way where you can just add so many different references and influences into a recipe to get such interesting work. I don't know. I think I'm so in my own bubble that I don't know what's going on outside of my bubble. Like I have no idea what the
Well,
conversation is,
I'm,
or
I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna
people are
say
hitting Gmunk work. I have no interest, or I think that's great. I'm just put it out there.
no, I was gonna say fair warning when you will come back to social media. Um, be prepared. Be prepared. It's been a heated debate.
Well, I
I
think
haven't.
the pro tip is just, on Twitter, I think I follow like 28 institutions, and on Instagram I follow my wife, my dog. I follow my 2 wife's accounts and my dog, and then the rest of it I've changed my algorithm to just show me drone cinematography in like 8 places in the world. So all I see are just drone cinematography and family stuff, and it's wonderful, and I love it. And Twitter's the same thing. I just get like art news, some space, some cosmos, space, this, that, and I don't see any of it, and if I need to see something, then the homie that I need to see it from will text me it, and I'll see it. And that's just the way I've been living like that for a while. And but I look at social media as a way to, like, it's marketing. You got to, post your shit to show the world that, hey, you're still making stuff, and then get the fuck off, and just get back to the things that I'm interested in, which are
It's Rick Rubin that says like it's okay to disappear, and just like go deep in what you're doing, and just don't pay attention to the world outside, and just like surface out when you're done, and like nothing will change. Like, I mean, the world will keep on going without you, so it's
100%,
okay to just go submarine. Like
submarine doom. Yeah.
and
I've been on the news for a really long time too. I have no idea what anybody's doing in politics or world affairs. Like I'm just so out.
no, but I
Totally
think
the blue pill. It's like the blue pill in the Matrix.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting perspective because I think you are the first one from the people that have been on the podcast that like consciously took the decision to kind of like cut ties with social media that way and kind of like isolate it. And I find it interesting because there is so much noise, and like even like I would say for purely like not feeling overwhelmed, like more and more people are doing in little steps what you're doing. It's kind of like cutting ties with social media because it's too much, and because it's distracting you from what matters in the end.
Yeah.
Um
It's just pumping your brain full of just like random stuff. I have enough going on in my thoughts,
yeah
that I don't need, I'm separating from those, and that's like a full-time job. I don't need to add a million other things to, to worry about or care about. I'm just trying to keep it light, but I'm still, we're doing really hard things right now, and we're working on the new Tron film. It's called Tron Ares, and we've been working on that for a long time, doing so much work on the film, and that takes up a lot of capacity. It's a lot of work, and I'm just like, we'll wrap it up in the summer, and then I'm just like, good Lord, how are we going to show this? Didn't use AI in any of the executions in that. That's for sure. Wasn't allowed to, not allowed to whatsoever. But in some of the concept work for some of the sequences, I used a little bit just to see things quickly, ideas quickly. But like our stuff is so specific and design oriented that it's not really for that, But in the new Inframonk stuff, man, like the process we have is so fucking cool. I'm so inspired. It's like I'll make stuff in Midjourney, then it'll go to Flux, then to animate diff. I'll load in my cinematography into it, and then it all just changes and it goes in and out. It's really interesting stuff. So the only limitation on it right now is just once those outputs can be smoother and higher res, like once we can get even to like 2K straight, raw 2K with like nice detail and smoothing, I think we'll super be there. Right now we have to kind of get it up to that point with a lot of
I was gonna say like what's coming out from AI right now, also like from a dynamic range standpoint, is quite not there yet. It's very baked in, like very contrasty, and you go like, whoa, tone it down, like cowboy, like just give me some control, because you mentioned being deep into the Resolve like pipeline, which like from a color standpoint, it's a dream, and even like for converting color spaces, going from this one to that one and do some operations and then move to this other one and then apply a lot and then convert it again. It's just like the possibilities are endless.
So much control, such amazing software in general, like amazing piece of software. Probably my favorite piece of software ever made, besides Houdini also is pretty impressive. Houdini is a gnarly piece of software, I think. But I would say Houdini and Resolve are like the two like most impressive pieces of software.
Those two are, I think, from an industry standpoint, two of the oldest tools in the market, because Houdini has so much legacy behind, and Resolve used to cost like, I don't know, $200K plus the machine. It was on Unix. You need to have like a film thing on the net, like on the side, and like honestly, like hats off to Blackmagic to have bought it, to have improved it through the years. Every year, like they release stuff, and for free. Like, dude, it's just crazy. Like I bought a license. I bought a license like 14 years ago. It cost me almost $2K. I haven't updated since. Like every release is free, and now you get Fusion for free too. So
yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, Blackmagic is cool. They make good cameras. They make great piece of software. That I really like that company. I think they do good work.
Speaking about robots, this is a joke about AI, but like you've used a few robots in your work. Like, how did that came out? Like, how did it suddenly you were like, well, robot arms?
I think when I was at Bot and Dolly and we were working on Box, that I was introduced to just kind of what it is, because they were there. That was like the whole identity of the studio. And so, we did Box, we did a project for Audi. We were living and breathing these robots for a year. And then after Bot and Dolly, through a company called VT Pro Design, they're an experiential company, amazing experiential company. The highest creative in that company is one of my best friends, one of my closest friends. And so we, worked together for years and years and years. And so we did a few robotics projects with him, in the same vein, and coming up probably after Inframonk and Tron is over, then the next thing is some robot work. We're drumming up I have a new robotics partner up here in the Bay Area. And, to our earlier point about just like a bunch of nerds in a garage fucking with robots and lights and cameras, that's what this will be. We'll be in an airplane hangar. There'll be 3 dudes, one dude controlling the robots, one dude controlling the camera, one dude controlling the lights, and just freestyling and making something really cool. I think we have 4 robots now, one with a track. And yeah, it's gonna be some cool shit there.
How do you get access to that? Because I mean, since it's like three dudes in a hangar, like playing
Yeah.
with that, is like, how do you get your hands on? Because that's not cheap material. That's not.
Well, the guy who owns the robots is a an artist who does a lot of like parametric fabrication, repeating, really interesting repeating tasks with the robots, and then he just bought two more. He's a homie of mine, a good friend, and they're all just friends, at this point, and just collaborators. And yeah, so it's just friends. It's just friends through the years. Who one of them has some toys.
Hey, can I borrow your Robux like for the week for the weekend?
he's
Sure.
he's an interesting fellow. Yeah, he's a good one. Yeah.
There's this Asian artist that paints with robots. Like,
Yeah, it's Sue Gwen.
yeah, she
Yeah.
programs all the patterns, and they start like randomizing stuff, and she starts painting around them and sculpting things around them, which is like super interesting too, because
Yeah.
it's like a co-create, like it becomes almost like a
Live performance.
yeah,
Yeah.
live performance co-creation thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Sue Gwen is amazing. She's amazing. Amazing. I've known her a long time. She's I've been on the conference circuit with her. For over a decade I was doing the conference circuit, speaking everywhere, all over the world, with all these crazy people, all these really colorful, interesting people. And it was an absolute labor of love, minus the labor. It was just so much fun to gallivant around the world with a bunch of creative people, just living and breathing what we do, sharing, learning, partying, just all of it. So much fun. The conference circuit is really a good way to just connect with the whole community that we're a part of. It's a big community, it's a really big community. That's how I do it. I do it that way versus, live events, going to meet people, talking to people, seeing people present. I love that shit, I love seeing people's process, their presentations. You learn so much about them. So that's been a big part of my career, is going to conferences. We're going to Off Paradiso in March in northern Mexico. It's the Off Barcelona.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I'm aware of it. The thing,
Yeah.
that, I mean, I would love to go, but to be honest, like the
It's a
price
long
tag,
flight from Belgium. Yeah.
it's but even for like most of us, like the access is pretty expensive for what a general, like what off used to cost, and even like other events like half res or whatever you want to go. Like this one is really kind of like another tier,
Okay.
uh
Yeah.
price wise, to get access. But the speaker, like the lineup, it looks amazing for sure. uh and I was tempted like to message Hector and see like if he could like make a lower tier that is more accessible. Um, this is a conversation that came during Camp MoGraph this year, like in 2024. We were at the fireside chat, and one of the speakers was saying like, yeah, I mean, the best way to what you're saying is like the best way to connect is like to go to these places and see the people and meet them and everything. And somebody else pointed out, and I think like rightfully, like, yeah, I don't think like everybody here realizes that we are kind of like privileged, in a way. We have the meanings to be here, and some of you are going to then go to half rest and everything, but like 90% of us um, don't have the meaning to access those things. And I think that's always been a struggle to, I'm for making everything accessible to everybody. Like I don't like elites or niche stuff, because that's kind of like what like how do you say this in English, uh walled garden sort of thing. um and I would like to see more kind of like artists that are like not mainstream, like climb up the ladder, if you want, and which was my next question, is like, because I know a lot of like you work hard. This is not like, oh, you were lucky. Like, you work extremely hard on the things you do. But there are things that are also like situational, and also our duty as like older generations, kind of like to pull down the ladder so people can come up, and enjoy also all this beautiful exploration. And so this is more like for the younger part of the crowd that might listen to the podcast. It's like, I wouldn't call it advice, it's like, but what would you give as a message so people can access or start like getting closer to the dreams that might be doing the type of work you're doing?
I think networking is really important. Staying in touch, getting in. I think like when you get into the industry, you have like your base camp, which is usually your peers at school. You're like, or your friends, before school or during school, like your base, your crew, and then you just have to like start to expand that network and just start making connections and meeting people, and going to conferences is great, but you have to go and you have to hustle. You have to you can't just go and if you go to the dance and you sit in the corner and no one asks you to dance because you're not there, you're not available. What's the point of going to the dance? You need to get out there and meet people and do your thing. And I think that you make connections and stuff. So I think like the networking part is really important. I think the getting your work out there really important. Working really hard, finding a unique voice, that's personal. What is the lens that you want to speak through, and mine has always changed throughout, my career. It started when I first started doing motion design. It was all about percussion and music sync and editing, and because my older brother was a drummer, so I literally just grew up just like listening to drumming and playing synthesizers with them, and just like music pacing, just tight percussion. And the era that I came up, it was all like the heyday of Warp Records, and Electro Clash, and just like all of this really amazing experimental electronic music. And it just all melded together. And then through the years, my voice changed to like dark and cinematic, practical, technology, psychedelic. It just goes in and out of just all sorts of different voices. And I think like when you're young, you have to like, you find like, what do you want to express? Like it's not as much just to be good at Photoshop and to like make a concept art, of this or that, or that you're good at this or that, good at modeling, an arm or a car. It's like, what do you want to say with those skills? What do you want to say? What do you want to explore? And I think that's everything. It's just like finding the motive and the purpose behind the work rather than just the execution. And to our earlier conversation about, AI is going to make craft kind of a different world. I think that the motive and the concept carries even more weight now, because now people they won't be able to be separated by craft anymore as much. I mean, I think it's becoming less and less of a hindrance, craft. I think that hindrance is going to be going away pretty quickly in the next few years, because of AI. And so I think it becomes about all the other things: your taste, your message, your motivation, the spirit behind the work, the voice, the vibe, the feeling, all of that.
Okay, interesting.
But to answer your question, it's like I really think that like it's making sure people see your work and meeting people. It's like those are the two core things to elevate, is or go work at a studio, and just like cross-pollinate and learn and just get beat up a little bit. That's usually the process. Do an internship, obviously, and just seeing how things go, and you'll discover that like, you'll be so motivated because you'll be doing it, Whereas like when people have been doing it for a really long time, their motivations wane and change. You know, I wouldn't say wane, but they change. Their motivations change. And it's good for you to see like the aging process in the industry, you know, to like see that range of experience, because it certainly is a journey, you know, and it's a hard journey.
It is a hard one for sure.
Yeah, super hard.
To start like slowly landing the plane. What about the future? It's like, forget a little bit about technology for a second, because we've talked about AI and you've already kind of like shared your prediction of where that's going to be, but it's more about like your internal process, like you as a human being in the years to come. Where do you see yourself? Like, what are you aiming at? It's like, not only as a creative, you know, it's just like, as Bradley Monkowitz.
You know, I think family wise we'll stabilize. You know, we'll get everything will stabilize. We have a newborn. You know, we have a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old. So, you know, we're just, you know, so we'll stabilize the you know, after about a year, you know, we'll kind of stabilize everything. And then creatively, I think, you know, I'm seeing the industry change, and I'm realizing that the industries of entertainment are kind of the most solid right now. I think, you know, I think brand work is, you know, I think the people aren't spending as much on marketing as they used to, you know, and I think brand work is kind of, you know, I think it's kind of changing, and I think entertainment's never going to change. You know, I don't think film will ever change. I don't think live events will ever change. You know, people are always going to go to them no matter what happens. And so I've been trying to position myself right in the middle of the entertainment world and the commission brand world, and then my artistic practice. And it's kind of like a three-headed dragon, you know, and they, you know, the heads are kind of always changing. And, you know, I think I just keep on, take it day by day, you know, find interesting opportunities, make the most of them, make the most of every opportunity. You know, you really have to, because you just never know if you're never, you know, it could just go away. You know, you couldn't get that opportunity again, and you just got to make the most of it as an opportunity to do some work that somebody notices and wants and likes, you know, and sees a parallel to what they're doing. And, you know, I think that's all I'm really focused on. I don't know where, I mean, I know what the kind of work I'd like to do in a couple years, but I have no really control over it. You know, I can just market, you know, do the marketing. I'm so bad at the marketing. I need to set aside more time for the market, and just, you know, new business, and just make the current business really solid, high quality work, you know, and just keep doing it. You know, I feel like I'm kind of yet to peak, but I feel like I'm close to peaking. You know, I feel like I'm always, you know, I'm not going on the other end yet. So I feel like I'm still kind of going up the hill a little bit, and still going up the hill, and, you know, the hill is tall.
The hill is very tall.
Big tall. Yeah, it's a big hill. So just doing what I can, man. I don't know. It's a really hard career, but I don't know what I don't know what I would do otherwise, you know.
No, dude, I think it's super important, like, to, again, like, people to see that this is like a constant struggle and constant, like, inner research. Like you said, is like constantly looking inside of ourselves and questioning ourselves, like, what do we want to do? Where do we want to go? And being very, very honest to ourselves about those things, because then your choices are real, you know, like, and feel real also to the outside world. Because, like, nowadays, like, I mean, you've been out, like, of social media, so I'm gonna just, like, land with this, is the market for jobs and work is very, very tough right now.
Yeah, very.
It's very, very tough. And so now it's like, you know, like the Wild West. It's like everybody's trying everything to get a job, you know, like, and it ranges to adopt any style or like, even like we were discussing this earlier in like one of the forums we have, is like even like stealing other people's job, presenting as them yourself, like to see if you catch some fish with the net, and it's wild, you know, and it's hard to cut through all that noise. And so I think it's important, like what you said, it's just like find your voice and just like try to stick to your truth, and at some point that's gonna get noticed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the tools are making things easier. You know, I feel like the tools are getting so good that it's easier. Everything's easier. You know, the idea and the concept rules, but execution, things are getting easier. It's easier to see things quickly. It's easier to kind of get started going down the rabbit hole of a concept. So much easier to get started. You know, before we would collect reference on our Pinterest boards, this, that, and put together decks, and now you can just make what you're thinking of, you know, instead of like, I need to find a photo of this and this and this and this and with this atmosphere and this and this and this and this. Now it's like you can just make that and make 1,000 of those in an hour. You know, it's once you find a recipe, it's a really interesting process. So I don't know. I think I'm optimistic. I hope, you know, I think it is hard out there though, dude. I mean, there's no question that the economy is rough in so many places. You know, that's the reality. It's last couple of years have been definitely the toughest economy I've seen in a long time. For sure. Yeah, for sure. But then, you know, I feel like things are, you know, I don't know if it's just like this and like not coming back. I don't know. Maybe things get good again. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that those that will stick to it are those that will remain in the end. You know, it's like I think a lot of people got mixed into this because of opportunity during COVID, for example, and now this is kind of like the shaving off of all that. You know, it's like those that will remain are those that have been doing this for a long time and will keep on doing it, or those that are new to it but that will like stick to it because they believe in it and they will keep on pushing. But as you said, like there's a lot of uncertainty, so it's hard to predict. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I know you don't have much more time, so thank you for being here with me.
Yeah. Pleasure. It's cozy. It's pouring rain out here, so it's been like this kind of like, you know, I wish I had a fire in my studio. It would be like this cozy like fireside chat with like the pouring rain here.
And a hound you can caress, you know, during the...
Yeah. I left the dog at home today because I knew we were recording, and she barks. So we left the hound at home.
Thanks for spending this time with me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.